Fred Katz. I'm the new beat writer covering the Celtics for MassLive.com. We're doing a little live broadcast right now. We're going to be talking about the Celtics. Tom Westerholm is going to be joining me in a moment. We're going to be talking LeBron James. You might have heard of him. We're going to be talking about Jayson Tatum, who Mark Murphy from the Boston Herald reported is not going to be playing in Las Vegas Summer League this upcoming July. No surprise there. We're going to be talking about some more stuff. Daniel Theis spoke to the media today for the first time in a little bit to talk about his recovery. And you know what? Tom is here. Tom is joining. We're going to add him right now. And it says that he's adding. I am literally, this is my third day of the job right now, and I'm literally learning how to do this because I've never done a Facebook Live before. Wait. Oh, my God. We have Tom at work.
What's going on, man? How's everything?
Yeah. We're broadcasting for the first time right now. It's a real thing.
Man, it's a new day. MassLive.com.
We have people watching. We could say anything right now. We could get ourselves fired so quick right now.
It's 2018 and it is shockingly easy to get yourself fired at a moment's notice.
I could set a record. I just got here Monday.
You could. Yeah. If anybody's watching, make sure to welcome Fred. He just joined us. So yeah.
So what are we doing? You were at Daniel Theis today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. One name a little bigger than him, and that name is Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith said today that LeBron James might. Actually, we should tweet this out, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Why
don't we tweet this out? We're like getting real organic while we do this.
Those are the best. Yeah.
While you get
that tweeted out, I can get this thing. I can get the situation sort of described here. If anybody missed it, which if they did, you missed kind of a firestorm. But yeah, Stephen A. Smith this morning on First Take said that the Celtics are one of the teams that LeBron James will probably talk to in free agency. He also mentioned, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Fred, I think I got this right, the Warriors, the Rockets, and the Sixers, as well as the Cavaliers. I think those were the – Yep. I think those were the teams. So, that why don't you go first? I mean, what do you think about the Celtics being included in this?
Well, the Celtics have tons of cap room.
and tons of flexibility over the next few years.
Okay. There are a couple things. The Celtics don't have the cap room to sign him.
Correct.
It doesn't actually matter that they don't have the cap room to sign him. It doesn't matter that anyone doesn't have the cap room to sign LeBron James, because if you can sign LeBron James, you go out and you sign LeBron James. The Celtics aren't going to sign LeBron James. There are like a lot of people who would love to meet with LeBron James. That's like saying that like I would love to meet with a meatball sub. Like I would really, really enjoy that. There are a lot of teams. Like I'm gonna guess there are 30 teams that would love to meet with LeBron James. It's not gonna happen in Boston, and that's okay. But there are a lot of reasons why it's not gonna happen with the Celtics. But sure they'd like to have LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, you would rather have LeBron James than not have LeBron James if those are the options that are presented in front of you. Yeah, I mean, there's, like you said, the cap space thing is real. Like to bring in LeBron James, they would have to give up quite a bit of what would make them attractive to LeBron James, which is, this team that's really actually, if you could just put him in place with the Celtics, they have length, they have athletic wings, they have versatility, that he would have to face against, like a team like the Warriors. And, like I wrote this today, but they also have the exact go-get-a-bucket guy that he needed to beat the Warriors last time. So, there would be a lot of pieces in place that would make them attractive, but also it's just LeBron and it's Boston and it's not going to happen. And that's, right. Yeah, like you said, that's okay.
And it's also, you bring up the go-get-a-bucket guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's the whole Kyrie thing, too.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing as well. I don't think the cap space actually matters. It's worth mentioning because it's real, because they don't have space. Last year they had the space to go out and sign Gordon Hayward to a 4-year max contract. This year they're not going to have that cap space. They have Marcus Smart coming off the books. They have Greg Monroe coming off the books. They have Shane Larkin coming off the books. They have someone else who is not a major player coming off the books without a lot of money, who I'm forgetting. Oh, Baynes, of course.
Baynes, yeah.
Aron Baynes coming off the top of my head. They're still, like, even if they wipe all those cap holds off the books, they're still over the cap. It doesn't matter. Like, if you can sign LeBron, it doesn't matter how over the cap you are. You will give stuff away. You will give away first-round picks. They potentially have 4 first-round picks next year. They can very easily open up cap room if LeBron James says, oh, yeah, I'm coming to sign with you guys. Or if Kevin Durant says, I'm coming to sign with you guys, or Paul George or whatever, and they decide they want to do that, they can very easily do that. It's irrelevant to the conversation right now. But it's fun fodder for First Take.
So, counterpoint to that. I think that the Celtics would have some pause in terms of LeBron, and obviously not because of the roster, like he wouldn't make the roster better. Clearly he would. I just think that right now, with the squad that they have, they are set up for you could make the case that they're set up for like a 10-year run. Because they're going to be good right now. They have Jaylen Brown, they have Jayson Tatum, they have this Kings pick coming up next year. That's a core for the future as well. And, oh, by the way, Jaylen and Jayson can already contribute to a team that made it within a game of the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron. So I think that you would have to, if you're Danny Ainge, you would have to consider, okay, so if we dump whatever to get LeBron, we're putting ourselves in a great position to be a championship contender right now, to be clearly one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference right now, but you also might be cutting off some of that future flexibility, especially if it was going to make you, trade, say it was Kyrie that you were dumping, for next to nothing picks or whatever you ended up getting back, but for, no caps, coming back in, that could be something tough to consider just in terms of this team is going to be really good for a really long time. And I don't know how much they want to, shut that window at all.
I think if you can get LeBron, get LeBron. I'm going to believe it. Like, if you get LeBron, you get LeBron.
Sure.
I think we're lending too much legitimacy to this entire story.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want to talk about the next thing? What do we have? Item 2.
Let's get it.
We got item 2. Jayson Tatum is not going to play in Summer League. Expected story that was reported today by Mark Murphy of the Boston Herald, who had some quotes in there from Danny Ainge. I'll tell you what. I spent the last 2 years. People watching this may not know me because they're Celtics fans, and I just got here 2 days ago. I spent the last 2 years covering the Thunder, and seeing a beat writer get exclusive quotes from a general manager, and then another beat writer on the same day in the middle of June get exclusive quotes from, like, in Himmelsbach getting exclusive quotes from, like, non-GM, low-level front office employees is the most jarring thing to me ever. Having covered a team that is on full lockdown whenever a media member even walks by them. Like, if you shake their hand, they have to, like, Purell their palms as soon as they're done. It's unbelievable. Seeing that is amazing. So Mark Murphy had that Jayson Tatum's not going to play in Summer League. Not surprising. And kind of the inevitable story. But at least we know for sure right now that Tatum's not going to play from Vegas.
Yeah, I think the only reason that this would even be close to a story is that Jaylen played last year, which was kind of insane in itself. Because, he was the first game of Summer League, he came out and was just clearly a man among boys already, 1 year removed and one, playoff run removed. He was already just amazing at Summer League. So I think that Jaylen more than anything wanted to prove a point that he can shoot now. And everybody already knows that Tatum can shoot, but he's entirely too good to play at Summer League. He was the best scorer on an Eastern Conference finalist. A lot of times Summer League, these guys use it to get some reps, to maybe, just kind of get some shots up in a play, like just a game action setting. And he doesn't need that. He's already, I think somebody tweeted out that he's already got, I think he's already played more, just playoff games. Well, he definitely has played more playoff games already than Joel Embiid. So, like, he's ready to be a contributor now, to be a star right now. He just doesn't need these Summer League reps.
Yeah, and he played like 960 minutes with Duke last year. He played 680 minutes just in the playoffs this year. You just don't need to do it. And, like, he's too good. Guys who were that good just don't play Summer League. Like, Ben Simmons is not going to play in Summer League. It's not going to happen. Donovan Mitchell is not going to play in Summer League. it's pointless. The guys in Summer League are rookies. They're second and third year players who aren't as good as those guys. They're journeymen. They're like every once in a while you get like like a dude who's been in the league, who was in the league for 11 years and then was out for 7 and then comes back. Greg Steemsma is going to end up playing for like the 76ers this year or something. You get guys who play overseas who are trying to make it into the league somehow and sneak onto a roster, and you get G Leaguers. And that's what the roster is, and it's just pointless. Like, it's not just pointless for Jayson Tatum to play is the thing. It's pointless for everybody else on that roster. Because if Jayson Tatum is going to play, Jayson Tatum is going to play the way Jayson Tatum's going to play, or else what are you doing? So now all of a sudden, Jayson Tatum is on that roster, and you're taking away opportunities from somebody else who might be able to potentially do something by being on that roster. Whoever ends up, running that team might end up wanting to run some different things. Whoever the Celtics take with the 27th pick, or if they trade somewhere or something like that, those guys may end up wanting to do something. It may impact how they use Shimmy Ojale or something along those lines. So you don't even want that guy. Like, he's too good. It's pointless and almost destructive in some ways. So guys don't do it. I remember a couple of years ago, Jordan Clarkson was still playing summer league for the Lakers, and every year you get a guy who's like too good. Like the guy last year was Buddy Hield. It was like Buddy Hield doesn't need to be here. But the ultimate one of the last few years I thought was Jordan Clarkson. Because Jordan Clarkson will make it very clear. If anyone has watched playoffs this year, Jordan Clarkson will make it very clear that Jordan Clarkson is on the court. And so Jordan Clarkson a couple years ago in Summer League, it was just like, what are you doing? He was killing guys. He was way too good for it, and he wasn't giving anybody else the ball. It was like, what's the point of all this? And after 2 games, they're like, Jordan Clarkson, go home. That ends up happening, and Tatum is, comparing to Jordan Clarkson, come on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's already like almost an all-star caliber type of player. And I mean, the other thing to consider too, obviously, the Celtics are going to be a little bit paranoid about this, is injuries. And you just don't want to, I mean, anytime a guy is going up and down, anytime it's a competitive game, anytime those juices get flowing, you do kind of run the risk of that. And that's something that the Celtics are going to be just, obviously very, very keen to avoid with, with Tatum and with Jalen and with, all of the guys that they expect to contribute next year.
Yeah,
I do think we could see Shemi Ojale though. Which would be kind of fun at the summer league level. I think it'll be interesting to see if he is able to improve his 3-point shot over the summer. That's going to be just super key for him this upcoming year. And summer league would be a chance to show that he can hit NBA threes at a in a game action.
Yeah, every once in a while you can see some stuff. People say that you can't learn anything from summer league. And Summer League, I think you're going to start to learn a little bit more as teams start to use it the right way. Like, this is the first year where all 30 teams are doing Summer League in Vegas, and everyone's going to have an affiliate. And guys are franchises starting to understand a little bit more how to use their G League affiliates and that kind of stuff now. I think some things you actually can learn during Summer League. Maybe not as much from like an Ojale perspective because he's been in the league for a year. You don't take away shot making and shot taking and that kind of stuff. But for example, like when Kristaps Porzingis came in, one of the ways that people went from, is he worth the 4th pick, to, oh my goodness, he's worth the 4th pick, is just because he was such an active screener that one year. Yeah. Like, he was screening like a maniac. And people were going, whoa, look at this. He is like really asserting himself exclusively through screening. And if I recall, he had really bad numbers at Summer League that year. But after that, the takeaway on Porzingis was, oh, this guy is really going to be a quality player. And part of it was just because of the way that he operates within an offense. You can kind of see that. You can see the way guys operate within a defense. And there are certain things from like a field perspective you actually can, I think, take away from Summer League. And Ojale is a guy who, I don't really care that much if he makes his threes, if he doesn't make his threes. But there are certain things that he can improve on from his rookie year where like he can end up being a really quality defensive player in this league. And there are certain things which I think that can help with. He can get some more help on for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, last year the Celtics played the Lakers, and they had like a close win in Summer League, and Stevens came away from it saying, I think Ojale, just from that game, he was saying, I think Ojale will be able to play some small ball 5 for us this year, and sure enough, he did end up playing a little bit of small ball 5 that year. Just in terms of, I think he saw how strong Ojale is and how much he was able to compete against Zubac, and that to your point, that you can kind of take away some of those things from Summer League. And I think, Stevens will certainly be trying to. So
he is so strong.
He's a built man.
He's a huge dude. He's just like a
Yeah,
massive dude. Like
and he's
my guys who I see, I'm like, that is a ginormous guy. It's like him, OG Anunoby,
yep.
Justice Winslow, Stanley Johnson. Justice Winslow's Anunoby's ridiculous too, and Justice Winslow is ridiculous too. I mean, their shoulders are absurd.
Yeah, yeah.
Absurd.
I can't speak to Winslow, but I mean Ojale when he is just like in the locker room, like just like his upper body is just unreal. Like there's no way that a rookie, comes into the league looking like that very often. He's so big and just cut, and yeah, he's gonna be he's a strong young man.
Come to Facebook for the bots. Stay for the June shoulder talk. What else we got? You were there for Daniel Theis today.
Yes,
he spoke. You listened.
He did.
What'd you think?
So basically, it sounds like he's recovering well from the meniscus tear that ended his season, which is good news. Obviously, he's just kind of starting to get back into running and sort of very non-contact stuff. It sounds like everything's progressing as he's hoping. He's hoping to join the German national team in September, which is something that he had told us before as well. So he is, moving along well in that regard. And yeah, he talked to a bunch of kids, answered some questions, and then he watched as the Celtics dunk crew did some dunks that made the kids go crazy. So it was, pretty entertaining morning that way.
Oh, I'm tweeting this out again. We're done. I was really hoping you were going to keep talking. He's pretty good. Like his recovery is actually relatively it's a meaningful thing for this team. So the fact that he's still kind of coming along and seems to be on track to be okay and even get some playing time in, like the fact that he's on track to be able to be with the German team for a little bit, and that's something he mentioned today when he talked about it's nice for him to get. He lists things a lot. So it's nice for me to get 3, 4, 5, 6 games. It is. It's nice for him to get sort of time with the German team so that way he can come back. He can be a little bit fresher. When I was covering the Thunder last year, that was the thing with Patrick Patterson. He had a knee surgery late in the year, missed training camp, and that just hurt him for a lot of the year. Like you just kind of always feel like you're a step behind in the season. You finally get recovered and you feel like you're healthy and you're good to go. And then all of a sudden it's like, but now when you're in beginning of training camp shape and you're like, I'm good. I'm in the shape where everybody was in training camp. Like everybody's already in December shape. And then you finally get that December shape. You're like, I'm good. And everybody's in March shape. And then you finally hit your stride and the season's done. And that's, it's helpful to where you can actually play some games, I think, or at least play in some sort of competitive environment if that's going to end up what happens. And you seem to be optimistic that would be the case. It's helpful for him to get into that before training camp.
Yeah, definitely. And, he's hopeful. He's excited. He said that he said that it was nice to start adding things to his recovery, I think anybody who's recovered from an injury can kind of relate to that. Like, the more that you can start to do, the more things that you can start to add, back into your workouts or to your recovery, or even just to like basic things that you can do, like walking without crutches. I mean, that's, those are just very encouraging things, I think, for guys who are coming back. And, he talked about a couple other things as well. He mentioned, he was asked about Aron Baynes' free agency, and he talked about how helpful Baynes was for the Celtics, especially defensively. And, he talked a little bit about just kind of his time in Boston. But I think the biggest takeaway was just, that health. And like you said, I mean, he was a really useful player for the Celtics last year. And I think that, just that switchability, that floor spacing that he brings off the bench, kind of being that third big man who can, come in and give you really quality minutes. And, every once in a while can give you a little bit more than just, quality minutes. They can, bring a little extra in terms of 3-point shooting and defense. That's going to be really key next year, especially at the price that he's going to be on.
I want to know. Here's what I want to know. This chair has like a very scary back. I almost fell over. I want to know where he's getting his defensive efficiency numbers from, because he said that Aron Baynes was 3rd in defensive rating this year, which means that he's at least cognizant of the fact that Aron Baynes had a good individual defensive rating, which really doesn't mean all that much, especially when you're talking about it in the context of Aron Baynes. But Aron Baynes actually was first in defensive rating, unless you set the qualifier to where like Markelle Fultz counts, where like he played like 14 games. So is he going through like NBA.com like data and refiltering it so that the qualifier is down, so Aron Baynes has a lower defensive rating than he's supposed to, and then throwing shade at Aron Baynes? That's my like advanced stat nerd hope that the Celtics are using those numbers to throw shade at each other in complementary ways.
All right, so maybe even more down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole. Daniel Theis is actually in the pocket of the Celtics, and he's trying to talk down Baynes' final finish so that the Celtics can get him back for the, whatever MLE they'll have available.
Yes, that is exactly what I want to be happening right now. That is exactly it.
Yeah,
because that is exactly how Aron Baynes' contract negotiations are going to go. He's going to say, I have the best defensive rating in the league. And they're going to be like, no, you had third. Markelle Fultz was ahead of you. And that's what it's going to be. I think Kawhi was ahead of him. Andre Robertson was ahead of him. Robertson played 9 games. But if you said it like dudes who played more than half the season, he had the highest. And that's just points allowed per possession with the Celtics while he's on the floor.
Right.
I mean, they had very good defense when Aron Baynes was on the floor this year.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that was Baynes, just being and part of that was kind of their emphasis on bigs who can move their feet, and that's, that applies to Baynes, that applies to Horford, that applies to Theis. I mean, these guys can contain the pick and roll, they can recover, they can, get out to the 3-point line if they need to, they can just be kind of big bodies in the paint, and that helped them all season. So, I think that it actually makes a lot of sense, especially, some of those Horford-Baynes lineups were just devastating defensively. I mean, they didn't always have, a super successful offense when those two were on the floor together, but at, those, man, it's hard to score on those guys, as the Sixers learned in 5 games. So
yeah, and that's kind of what I was going to bring up. I think a lot of the Baynes stuff has to do with the guys that we shared his minutes with, because he shared a good amount of minutes with Smart too. So,
yeah, right.
So you share minutes with those guys, that's going to bring those numbers down. Horford was, you know what? I don't have to give a clarification of not being a homer before this, because he was my pick before I ever knew I was coming here. Horford was my Defensive Player of the Year pick this year. So
okay.
He had an absolutely tremendous defensive season, I thought, and he stayed healthy for the whole year, so was just able to contribute on a game-to-game basis, which kind of was my tiebreaker between him and Embiid, who only played about 60 games, and Gobert, who I think played 56, and then Andre Robertson, who only played 39. I mean, Kawhi was hurt. There were just so many guys that were hurt, and him staying healthy and able to contribute and play the 4, play the 5, all those sorts of things. And those minutes next to Baynes, I mean, that helps. They had some really good defensive numbers when those two guys were on the floor together.
Yeah, they definitely did. I mean, even just like schematically, I mean, it was crazy to watch Baynes. I think he had a couple of possessions in even the Cleveland series where LeBron would drive it at him. And, a lot of times when they got switched, LeBron would still score on him because he's LeBron and he's, the greatest player in the world. But, Baynes still made it tough on him. He still moved his feet enough, and he's strong enough to keep LeBron kind of in front. And, a couple of times, LeBron actually missed those shots. And, those were, you saw the same thing with Simmons, and Simmons can't shoot, so he struggled with it even more. Even Giannis, he would take it right at Baynes, and he would kind of struggle with it because it's just tough to score if you crash into a brick wall and the brick wall doesn't move. So he's, he's a really useful player. I think the Celtics will definitely, take a hard look at trying to bring him back.
God, I want to see what his 3-point shooting is like next year. I'm so curious.
So Chris Mannix tweeted this out at one point, and now I literally cannot unsee it. If you watch Baynes take a 3, his left foot is in front of his right foot, and he's a right-handed 3-point shooter. And, if you just think of the logistics of that shot, it's unreal that it ever went in. It's just the weirdest looking shot I've ever seen. And that specifically messed me up.
The whole thing messed me up, that he just randomly became a spot-up shooter in the playoffs. So I am so curious to see if that's actually a thing. Because if that's actually a thing, it's a big deal. I mean, that totally changes who he is as a player. If he's a guy who can shoot threes even on occasion, you'd like him around the rim because he can kind of bully bully guys there when he doesn't have the ball, and that can help, and he's pretty good at sealing and that kind of stuff. But, man, if you can just those occasional moments when he's able to be in the corner, or those moments if he's a trailer in transition or whatever, and he can spot up, that's really helpful skill. I mean, people saw it in the playoffs. They saw it in the Philly series, especially when he's hitting those shots. It's hilarious, but it's helpful.
Yeah, and I mean it's certainly helpful for his agent as well to be able to pitch that. I mean, if you can say, hey, this big man hits threes, that's not going to hurt your contract negotiations.
And he's part of the long hair theory. I have a theory that guys who have long hair automatically earn the reputation of having high motors, whether they have high motors or not. Because you just look like you're doing stuff when you have long hair. Your hair is flailing. Like Kenneth Faried. Kenneth Faried's motor isn't any better than anybody else's. He doesn't even try that hard on defense. People say he's got a crazy motor because he got long hair. Baynes has the man bun, so he gets the long hair motor reputation.
You know, it's not a bad. I mean, I don't know if it's a good theory or not, but it's
a good theory.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, a lot of people like to complain. Like to complain about Jay Crowder when he was with the Celtics, but every time every time they did, they were like, he plays really hard, but long hair. I mean, long hair. There you go.
Everyone goes to other sports too. Troy Polamalu is the face of it. Everyone. Long hair, You're going to have the reputation of playing hard. That's how it works all the time. We have anything else?
No, I don't think so. Celtics announced their new training facility. They'll open it on June 19. Just the mock-ups that we've seen over the last couple of years. I mean, it looks like it's going to be crazy nice. I think the coolest thing is that it's going to have the two floors are going to be parquet now, which is pretty cool. So they'll be able to practice on parquet floors just like the Garden. But other than that, no, I don't think there's a whole lot else going on right now.
Awesome, man. Awesome. This was great. So far, we're not almost done, but we didn't mess anything up, and nobody has run in yet to tell either of us we're fired. So we're okay.
Yeah. I think we survived your first Facebook Live, and both have jobs.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll be doing a bunch of these for a very long time. So continue to tune in. Check us out on our Facebook page, masslive.com Celtics. You can check out my writing on masslive.com, Tom's writing on masslive.com. If you are unaware of who the heck I am, I just came over to cover. I was covering the Thunder. I'm now covering the Celtics for Mass Live. You can follow me on Twitter @FredKatz. Tom, what's your handle again?
@Tom_NBA.
Great. So find us there. Send us all your hate mail. I'm fine with hate mail. I can deal with it. My mother sends me it anyway. All right. Tom, we'll talk to you later.
All right.
See you guys. Thanks for watching.